I died for pulling an all-nighter and woke up as a side character in a novel. My CEO wife was in the middle of forcing me to divorce her. Jail or divorce, pick one. I snatched the pen to sign, but the damn thing was out of ink. So I just put my finger open and signed my name in blood. It's signed, I said, handing it to her. So, will the alimony be wired? After my untimely death, I was reborn as a side character in a book, and the first thing I knew, I was locked in a basement. My name was Frank Miller, the powerful, wealthy husband of the story's female lead. The original Frank had met Diana while she was working part-time at a club 3 years ago and fell for her hard. But Diana didn't love him, so he'd used his power and influence to force her hand. She eventually married him, but their 3 years of marriage had been miserable. No matter what he did, Diana never loved him. Her heart belonged to her first love, Leo Hayes. Frank's jealousy would often drive him into a rage. While he was losing his mind over this unrequited love, Diana, through her own talent, had become a business tycoon in her own right. Meanwhile, the Miller family went bankrupt, leaving Frank destitute. His father had jumped from a building, and his mother was critically ill in the hospital. Just 2 days ago, in a fit of jealousy over Diana giving Leo a birthday present, Frank had hit him with his car. As punishment, Diana had locked me in here with no food or water. Suddenly, I heard footsteps and looked up. Diana approached, her beautiful face a mask of cold indifference as she looked down on me. Frank, Leo is seriously injured. If he presses charges, you'll be facing a criminal conviction. My eye twitched. I just gotten a second chance at life. I had no intention of spending it in a prison cell. Jail or divorce, pick one, Diana said, her expression frigid. The only person I love is Leo. Just sign the papers. With that, she tossed a divorce agreement and a pen in front of me. I picked up the papers and my eyes instantly lit up. According to the agreement, I would receive $2 million in alimony and a villa in the city. This incredible windfall was finally my turn. I had to hand it to her. The woman was nothing if not generous. I fought to keep the grin off my face as I quickly grabbed the pen to sign my name. But the damn thing was out of ink. Infuriating. I just bit my finger open, signed my name in blood, and handed the document to her. It's signed. When will the alimony be wired? Diana stared, clearly stunned that I'd agreed so readily. After all, every time she brought up divorce before, the old Frank would throw a massive fit, complete with tears, threats, and bouts of insanity. He was the type who would rather die than sign the papers. You're agreeing to the divorce? She asked. I bit my lip hard, trying to hide the massive smile that was threatening to break out. I closed my eyes for a moment, composing myself in the silence. Starving in here the last couple of days gave me a lot of time to think. I said, I'd rather set you free than have you hate me forever. Since I'd agreed to the divorce, Diana finally let me out of the basement. Once I was out, I worried that a signature in blood might not be legally binding. So I went to a print shop, made a fresh copy of the agreement, and signed it properly. I was just about to give it to Diana when I saw her on the phone, her expression grim. I'll be right there, she said. After hanging up, she grabbed my arm. You're coming with me to the hospital. It was only when we got there that I learned Leo Hayes had hemophilia. He needed an emergency transfusion, and apparently, I was a perfect match. Diana wanted me to donate blood to Leo. I cursed her out in my head. I've had a lifelong fear of needles, and who knew how long it would take to recover after they drained that much blood from me. Do I have to do this? I asked. Diana's voice was merciless. If you hadn't hit him with your car, he wouldn't be lying here half dead. She gripped my arm tightly, her glare so intense it felt like she wanted to skin me alive. You're giving this blood, one way or another. And so, they took 400 cubic centimeters of my blood. I was so weak I nearly passed out. Diana didn't even spare me a glance. Her entire focus was on Leo. I felt a pang of disappointment. No matter what, the man I used to be had truly loved Diana, would have given her the world, had laid his heart at her feet. In return, she treated him like he was less than nothing. Anyone would find that chilling. But then I remembered the $2 million heading my way, and suddenly, I felt much better. What's a little blood loss in exchange for a fortune? As I left the hospital, I pulled out my phone and saw a notification for a trending topic on Twitter. Leo was Diana's childhood friend, and she had spent a fortune last year launching his career and turning him into an A-list actor. The story of me hitting him with my car had been all over the internet, and I'd been trending on Twitter for days as public enemy #1. Frank Miller is a psycho. He deserves to be broke. Frank Miller should just die. How dare he touch our precious Leo? How does a gold digger like him even have the nerve to be alive? Someone had even photoshopped my face onto a funeral portrait. I couldn't care less about these rabid fans. As long as the money came through, they could curse me all they wanted. They could even throw eggs at me. As long as they didn't hit my handsome face, of course. It got me thinking, maybe I should get into live streaming? I was infamous, sure, but that meant I had a ton of traffic. I could probably make a killing. I remembered that Diana's corporate empire included a media company, so I excitedly gave her a call. Diana shot me down without a second thought. We're not officially divorced yet. You're not going to be a live streamer and embarrass me. Dejected, I headed home. To be precise, I headed back to Diana's house. The Miller family mansion had been auctioned off after the bankruptcy. This place belonged to her. She could kick me out whenever she wanted. I wandered around the house and noticed Diana had a serious love for jewelry. Every piece was worth a fortune, and many of them were gifts from the old Frank. I figured if I pocketed an item or two, she'd never notice. She had so much of it after all. Somehow, word of our impending divorce reached her grandmother, who flew into a rage and absolutely forbade it. So, Diana told me I had to go with her to visit her grandma. Diana's parents had died when she was young, and her grandmother had raised her, so she respected the old woman immensely. I, of course, didn't want to go. I didn't want anything to jeopardize the divorce. But then it occurred to me, if her grandma was against the divorce, who knew when I'd see that alimony? It was better to get some cash up front. Fine, I'll go with you to see your grandmother, I said. But according to our agreement, you owe me $2 million. How about you wire me $200,000 as a down payment? Diana looked at me with disgust. Frank, when did you become such a mercenary? Was she kidding? She should try going bankrupt and see how much she loves money then. I was obsessed with it now. Besides, the original Frank was the one who treated money like dirt. In my previous life, I had to think twice before spending a few bucks on a snack. So now, my only goal was to make money, as much as possible. I'm just securing my legal rights, I retorted. You can't call that being mercenary. Disgusted or not, Diana quickly wired me the $200,000. Seeing the deposit notification on my phone, I was very satisfied. After Diana made her fortune, she'd wanted to move her grandmother into the mansion with her, but the old woman preferred her old house, saying you should never forget where you came from. The moment her grandma saw me, her face broke into a deeply wrinkled smile. She was clearly happy to see me. The original Frank, in his quest to win Diana over, had always been incredibly attentive to her grandmother, visiting often to chat and bringing her expensive gifts. As a result, she was thoroughly convinced he was the perfect grandson-in-law. Frank, dear, don't you worry, she said. I will never let Diana marry that performer. They'll be together over my dead body. Diana and Leo were childhood friends, but her grandmother had never liked him, believing him to be a fundamentally snobbish and opportunistic person. Diana was frustrated by this, but she never dared to argue the point. I took the grandmother's frail hand in mine. Grandma, please don't say such unlucky things. You're going to live to be 100. Her smile grew even wider. Our Diana is so lucky to have married you. She wasn't wrong. Without the Miller family's initial backing, Diana would never have become the famous tycoon she was today. I was responsible for half her success. $2 million in alimony was more than fair. Seeing how happy I'd made her grandmother, Diana seemed to have mixed feelings. On the drive back, she warned me, I'll convince my grandmother in the next few days. Nothing is changing with the divorce, so don't even think about backing out. What a joke. I wasn't worth $2 million even if you sold me on the open market. I'd have to be an idiot to back out now. I just nodded. Then please do it as soon as possible. Diana seemed surprised by my attitude. She pressed her lips together. Don't play these games with me. The next morning, the hospital called. My mother was cleared for surgery, but the medical bills had to be paid in full within 3 days. I hadn't received the full alimony yet, and the $200,000 wasn't nearly enough. If I couldn't come up with the money, she would die. I had no choice but to go find Diana. I found Diana at the hospital, taking care of Leo. I ran up to her, out of breath. Diana, I need another $300,000. Before Diana could say a word, Leo spoke up from his hospital bed. You want money? Fiend it. I met his gaze and saw the pure rage and hatred in his eyes. I knew that if Diana weren't here, he would have already lunged at me. The next thing I heard was his cold sneer. I'll give you $200,000 for striptease. It seemed Leo had made good money since becoming a star. He'd certainly learned how to throw it around. But without Diana, he'd still be just a mechanic. Diana's face remained impassive. She didn't intervene, because the old Frank had humiliated Leo in the past. Back when Leo was still a mechanic, Frank, consumed by jealousy, would constantly harass him, even taking his car to Leo's shop just to force him to kneel and then throwing money in his face. The original Frank was a real piece of work. What? You don't want to? Leo taunted. 2 dances, and that's $400,000. Before he could even finish the sentence, I was down in my underwear and writhing, terrified he might change his mind. Diana was frozen in shock. Leo was completely dumbfounded. The old Frank, for all his faults, was a proud man born into wealth. He would never have stooped so low, let alone performed striptease. It was the ultimate humiliation. Diana frowned, her eyes filled with disgust. Frank, I took the opportunity to pinch my own thigh, forcing out a couple of tears. My mom needs this surgery money to live, I choked out. I didn't want to do it, but the money was too good to refuse. I looked up at Diana, my eyes red-rimmed. Want me to dance for you, too? Since we're still married, I'll give you a discount. $30,000. Diana exploded. Get dressed and get out. In the end, I got the $40,000 before Diana's security threw me out of the hospital. I just lay on the pavement for a minute to rest. I'd pulled a muscle in my back during my little performance. A moment later, a shadow fell over me. I looked up and saw my frenemy, Chloe Vance. The source of our rivalry was simple. At an auction once, I'd gotten into a bidding war with her over a ruby necklace I wanted to buy for Diana. Of course, with my family's money, I'd ended up winning it for triple her final bid. Ever since then, we'd been at each other's throats every time we met, neither of us willing to back down. She called me a simp. I called her a lonely spinster. The news of my divorce from Diana was everywhere, so of course she knew. She wasn't about to miss an opportunity to rub it in. Well, to think the great Frank Miller would end up like this, she sneered. I told you, being a simp gets you nothing in the end. I wanted to shout that I wasn't left with nothing. I had $2 million and a villa coming my way. But I remembered from the book that Chloe's family, the Van Cess, were incredibly wealthy, on par with the Millers in their prime. And she herself was a business genius who'd founded a successful company right out of college. $2 million was pocket change to her. I'm doing okay, I said. Chloe scoffed. The only thing tough about you is your mouth. Not to be outdone, I shot back. Have you tried it? A blush crept up Chloe's face, and she fell silent. I raised an eyebrow. Nice try, kiddo. Chloe nudged me with her foot. Hey, you just got dumped. Are you planning on playing dead here all day? I brushed off my pants where she'd kicked me and got to my feet. I haven't eaten. You should buy me dinner. Chloe stared at me like I was some kind of alien. Did you hit your head? I assumed she was just being cheap. Come on, you're the CEO of a public company. It's just one meal. Don't be so stingy. My comment seemed to have hit a nerve, because she took me to the most expensive restaurant in the city. I'd never had things like foie gras or truffles before, so I stuffed my face like a man who hadn't eaten in weeks. Chloe sat across from me, covering her face with her hands. You're completely ruining my appetite. I quickly slid her plate over to my side of the table. Perfect, I'm still hungry. It's no exaggeration to say I had to hold onto the wall for support on my way out. I was that stuffed. Back at Diana's house, I lounged on the sofa, daydreaming about how I'd spend my $2 million. Should I buy some land first, or a new car? Diana walked in, her expression grave. Grandma's health has taken a turn for the worse, she said. The doctor says we can't upset her. We're putting the divorce on hold. What? I shot up from the sofa. No way. Putting the divorce on hold meant my $2 million were about to fly out the window. How could I not lose my mind? Seeing my unusually strong reaction, Diana narrowed her eyes. You seem very eager to divorce me. I was baffled. Is being this fickle a requirement for all-powerful CEOs? She was the one who initiated this, and now she was turning it around on me. I just think you're miserable with me, I said, trying to sound sincere. I don't want you to be unhappy. But I never expected that not only would Diana postpone the divorce, she also wanted me to play the part of a doting husband in front of her grandmother. Visiting her grandmother was one thing, but acting came with a separate price tag. Acting isn't really my strong suit, I said. It's a bit of a stretch for me. How about this? You buy me that villa in the city first, a fully furnished one I can move right into. This mansion was luxurious and spacious, but it wasn't mine. Diana scrutinized me, her silence sending a chill down my spine. I lowered my head and sighed. I'm just thinking of you. It can't be good for your mood to see me every day. Diana eventually agreed, since buying me a villa was already part of the original deal. After I went to the hospital and paid my mother's medical bills in full, I went with Diana to see her grandmother. Just as I'd expected, her grandmother's mood brightened the moment she saw me. She'd been lying listlessly in bed, but now she was insisting she wanted to get up and dance for me. I quickly helped her sit back down. Frank, dear, she said, you and Diana have been married for a few years now. It's time you had a child. I glanced at Diana and was surprised to see the tips of her ears turn red. Still, we were a couple in name only. She was saving herself for Leo, and I couldn't exactly get pregnant on my own. As we left the old house, I asked, your grandma seems to be in good spirits, and her health looks fine. So, when can we go finalize the divorce? Diana frowned. Is it the only thing you ever want to talk about? Of course there was. What was the rest of my alimony coming? I was itching to go on a shopping spree. Every day we stay married is another day Leo is the other man. I pointed out, are you really okay with that? Diana stared at me for a long moment before she spoke. Actually, Leo and I aren't. Suddenly, her phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw it was Leo. I took the hint. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll get going. Just let me know when you're ready to sign the papers. I had just hailed a cab when I got an iMessage from Chloe. Be my date to a gala tonight. I smirked. My time is very expensive, you know. Chloe replied, I'll buy you dinner in a few days. Same place as last time. Deal. I typed back. As night fell, I arrived at the gala, dressed to the nines. The flashing lights and glamour were almost intoxicating. It didn't take long for me to figure out why Chloe had invited me. Her father was trying to set her up on a blind date, and she was using me as a human shield. I leaned in close to her. This is a pretty big sacrifice. You owe me 2 dinners for this. I mean, I had some money now, but I couldn't just throw it around. Not like her. She was a walking ATM. Chloe beamed. Fine, no problem. Just then, Diana walked over and saw us. Her hand tightened around her wine glass. I saw her too. It wasn't surprising to run into her at a high society event like this. A little later, Diana cornered me outside the men's room. You're still legally my husband, she hissed. You'd better start acting like it. Seriously? I was being so well-behaved, I was literally letting her go. The possessiveness of some women is terrifying. We were getting divorced, and she still wanted to control me. But I wasn't going to argue. In a way, she was still my sugar mama. Simply put, I hadn't gotten all my money yet. Got it, I said. Seeing my dismissive attitude, Diana's lips tightened into a thin line. Diana was nothing if not efficient. She bought me the villa in no time. I, in turn, played my part, visiting her grandmother every few days and keeping the old woman so happy that all her health problems seemed to vanish. After getting the keys to my new place, I went back to Diana's to pack my things. To my surprise, Leo was there. Diana came out of the kitchen carrying a plate of food and froze when she saw me. I was just as surprised. In 3 years of marriage, I never once saw Diana cook. In fact, the old Frank had spent months learning from a chef just to tempt her into eating a little more. He'd prepare elaborate meals and wait for her to come home from work, but she would never even glance at the food. He'd even burned his hand once, and she hadn't shown the slightest concern. Leo shot me a smug look, as if to say, asterisk, she loves me, you're the loser. Asterisk, Diana's cooking smells amazing, he said loudly. I'm going to have to eat at least 2 helpings. I ignored him and went straight upstairs to pack my bags. But Diana followed me, offering an uncharacteristic explanation. Leo just got out of the hospital. He's still very weak, so let's just go finalize the divorce. I cut in. Diana stared at me, her fingers clenching. Are you serious? Absolutely. I was sick and tired of this whole pathetic situation. I was supposed to be the husband, but I felt like the other woman. Once we were divorced, she could cook for Leo's entire extended family for all I cared. I nodded. Isn't this what we agreed on? Diana's face was tense. After a moment of silence, she said, fine, you'll get what you want. The drive to the courthouse was silent, and the oppressive aura coming from Diana was suffocating. This was definitely the hardest money I'd ever earned. The moment we arrived, I threw open the car door, desperate for some fresh air. The paperwork was finished in no time, and the remaining $2 million hit my account. I finally had the money. Diana looked at me. Frank, with the money in my account, I couldn't stop smiling. What's up? I asked. Diana stared at my smiling face, then moved her lips. I'll give you a ride. I waved her off. No thanks, it's out of your way. I can easily get a cab. All I wanted to do was celebrate by spending money. First, I went to a dealership and ordered a new BMW, then I hit them all. This was the life. I couldn't understand why the old Frank had been so obsessed with trying to melt Diana's heart. It was as cold and hard as a rock. That weekend, Chloe made good on her promise and took me out to dinner. I ordered all the most expensive items on the menu and had the waiter open their priciest bottle of red wine. If I didn't help her spend her money, some other guy would. Chloe rested her chin on her hand, watching me. Frank, you really don't hold back, do you? I pulled out my copy of the divorce decree and tossed it on the table. I'm a free man. You have to help me celebrate. Chloe's eyes went wide. She picked up the paper and stared at me in disbelief. You actually did it? You're divorced. I nodded. 100%. Chloe grinned. Looks like you finally got all that water out of your brain. After dinner, Chloe drove me home. Just as we pulled up to my new villa, the sky opened up in a torrential downpour. Thinking about the 5-figure dinner she'd just bought me, I felt I should be a good host. The rain's pretty bad. You want to come in for a bit until it lets up? Chloe stared out at the downpour. It really was too dangerous to drive in this. So she came inside with me. I grabbed a random dress shirt from my closet and handed it to her. I don't have any women's clothes here, but you can wear this. Chloe's face flushed, but I'd already turned to go to the other room and didn't see her expression. I had just gotten out of the shower when the doorbell rang. I'd only been here a few days, and no one knew my address. Maybe it was security? I want to get the door. Standing on my doorstep was Diana. Her eyes took in my towel-clad state, then flickered past me to where Chloe was standing in my oversized shirt. Her beautiful face instantly turned dark and cold. Frank, I didn't buy you this house so you could fool around with other women. Lady, we're divorced. You're overstepping. But Diana was powerful now, and I was afraid if I pissed her off, she'd run me out of the city. I could handle leaving, but I hadn't even had a chance to properly enjoy my new villa yet. It's not what you think, I said quickly. Chloe's clothes got soaked in the rain, so she's just borrowing one of my shirts. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. I couldn't be bothered to explain further. It's late. What are you doing here? Diana seemed to force herself to calm down. Have you seen my ruby necklace? I averted my eyes, feeling a twinge of guilt. I'd sold that necklace ages ago and invested the money in the stock market. Those stocks were doing great, by the way. Haven't seen it, I said. Maybe you should go home and have another look. Diana bit her lip. I'm soaked to the bone. Aren't you going to let me in a change? She was right. She was completely drenched, her hair plastered to her face. She looked utterly wretched. Chloe crossed her arms, a smirk playing on her lips. Don't tell me you're getting lovesick again. She had seen firsthand just how pathetically the old Frank had chased after Diana. I hitched my towel up. It's not a good time. How about I call Leo to come and get you? Diana looked stunned, clearly not expecting me to refuse. For a second, a flicker of hurt crossed her usually icy expression. The next thing I knew, she had collapsed at my feet. I touched her forehead. It was burning hot. She had a fever. I rushed her to the hospital. Diana was still unconscious when Leo arrived at the hospital. Seeing me by her bedside, he grabbed me by the collar. Frank, you're divorced now. Don't even dream of getting back together with her. What part of my behavior suggested I wanted to get back with Diana? I brushed his hand off and straightened my shirt. I don't have time for pathetic losers like you. Now that Leo was here, I was free to go. I had just reached the door when I heard a weak voice behind me. Why am I in the hospital? Diana, you're awake. Frank called me and said you'd collapsed on his doorstep. So I rushed over and brought you here. Unbelievable. Leo, that manipulative snake, was saying it loud enough for me to hear. He was hoping I'd lose my temper and punch him like the old Frank would have, giving him another chance to play the victim for Diana. But he'd miscalculated. I wasn't that jealous fool anymore. I opened the door and walked out without a backward glance. The next morning, I was still asleep when my phone rang. It was Chloe. She'd fallen and broken her wrist and wanted me to come visit her at the hospital, saying she was bored out of her mind. Chloe still owed me a dinner, and besides her spoiled rich girl attitude, she was actually a decent person. I got up, had some breakfast, and headed to the hospital, stopping on the way to buy a nice bouquet of flowers. You have to spend money to make money. I make sure to get an even more expensive meal out of her next time. When I got to the hospital, I stepped out of the elevator and saw Leo helping Diana walk toward the exit. When she saw me, Diana quickly pulled her arm away from Leo's grasp. It's not what it looks like, she said nervously. I just looked at them blankly. Excuse me, you're blocking the way. They were standing right in front of the elevator, and I couldn't get past. Diana looked at the flowers in my hands. Aren't those for me? No, I said without thinking. Diana froze. Just then, Chloe walked up, cradling her cast. Frank, what are you just standing there for? Coming, I said. I pushed past Leo, walked over to Chloe, and handed her the flowers. You still owe me that dinner. Don't forget, I whispered. Chloe was speechless. Diana's gaze was fixed and rigid as she watched us. Leo snorted. Diana, I told you Frank was no good. You almost died of pneumonia, and he didn't even bother to visit. He talks about love, but look how quickly he moved on to another woman after the divorce. Chloe glared at Leo, her voice dripping with ice. You better watch your mouth. Say one more word about him. I dare you. The only reason I didn't mess with Diana and Leo was because I knew they were the main characters of this story. As the disposable side character, I knew nothing good would come from crossing them. But Chloe was different. She had the power to back up her threats. Besides, in the past, whenever Frank had argued with Leo, Diana had always taken Leo's side. To show my gratitude to Chloe, I decided to peel her an apple. A week later, Chloe was discharged from the hospital. She showed up at my villa with a car full of groceries, announcing we were having hot pot. She even made me come out and help carry everything. As I was grabbing bags from her trunk, a pair of headlights swept over us. It was Diana. She parked her car, got out, and glanced at Chloe standing next to me, a frown creasing her forehead. When did you two get so close? Chloe smiled sweetly. Ms. Hayes, That's a personal matter between Frank and me. I looked at Diana. Did you need something? There was no reason for her to be here. The divorce was final, and I was still visiting her grandmother regularly. Diana stared at me. That pumpkin soup you used to make for me. How did you do it? I thought it was going to be something important. You can find a recipe online, I said. Can't you just make it for me? She asked. Do I look like a simp to you? I shook my head. That wouldn't be appropriate. We're divorced. We should keep our distance. Diana bit her lip, looking a little hurt. Just as I turned to leave, I heard her say, I bought back the ruby necklace. I subconsciously touched the bridge of my nose. So she knew I'd taken it. Technically, it wasn't stealing since I'd been the one to give it to her in the first place. Surely she wasn't going to demand I give back the money I'd made from it. Diana pulled the necklace from her purse. This was a gift from you. I've always loved it. I loved it too. It was worth a lot of money. Glad you like it, I said. Well, we're going to head inside now. With that, I grabbed the rest of the grocery bags and went inside with Chloe, leaving Diana standing alone in the driveway. She didn't move for a long time. As I started unpacking the food, Chloe watched me. Don't you think Diana is acting weird? I looked at her shocked. You don't think she has some kind of terminal illness, do you? I didn't remember that being part of the book's plot. Chloe rolled her eyes. I think she's in love with you. I opened a bag of chips and popped one in my mouth. You gotta be kidding. She couldn't wait to get rid of me, so she could be with her childhood sweetheart. Chloe tapped her chin thoughtfully. She's come looking for you twice now, using flimsy excuses. Do you really think she's just bored? Seeing the pensive look on my face, Chloe seemed to hold her breath for a second before poking me in the forehead. You're not actually considering getting back together with her, are you? No way, I said immediately. I never go back for seconds. Hearing that, Chloe seemed to relax, her expression returning to normal. Chloe and I ate hot pot and drank until we were both completely wasted. When I woke up, I found us both passed out on the sofa. Chloe woke up soon after and immediately ordered me to go out and buy breakfast. Considering she'd paid for the hot pot, I figured I owed her, so I went. But when I opened the front door, I was shocked to see Diana standing by her car, still in the same clothes from the night before. She had clearly been there all night. My God, this was like something out of soap opera. All we needed was some rain to complete the scene. Diana stared at me, her eyes wide and clear. What is going on between you and Chloe? I shrugged. It is what it is. We had hot pot. We're dinner buddies. Diana's expression shifted. Are you two together? Oh, right. She'd been standing here all night, so she knew Chloe had stayed over. She'd obviously gotten the wrong idea, but I couldn't be bothered to explain. She could think whatever she wanted. Diana stepped forward and grabbed my hand. Her face was pale, her eyes were red, and she looked completely broken. Frank, haven't you always wanted my heart? I can give it to you now. Hilarious. What would I do with her heart? I only ever wanted her money. For the first time, Diana tried to explain her relationship with Leo. There's nothing romantic between Leo and me, she said. We grew up together. He's like a brother to me. I pull my hand free. Diana, the moment our divorce was finalized, we were both free agents. I don't care if you're with Leo, or Tom, or Harry. It has nothing to do with me. Diana looked at me in disbelief. What did you just say? She was a genius. Was this concept really so hard to grasp? I looked her straight in the eye and said, slowly and clearly, let me put it this way, Diana. I don't love you anymore. Her body shuddered as if she couldn't process my words, and tears began to stream down her face. It was the first time I had ever seen her cry. Then, to my utter shock, Diana fell to her knees in front of me. Frank, please, can you just give me one more chance? I was so startled, I took a step back. No, I didn't look at her again. I just turned and walked away. The only thing on my mind was what I was going to get for breakfast. I found out later that Diana had collapsed on my doorstep that day, gotten seriously ill, and even ended up in the ER. But that had nothing to do with me anymore. The next phase of my life was amazing. I got my new car and spent my days cruising around in my BMW, flirting with women. Chloe treated me to fancy dinners, and I'd occasionally treat her to a food truck. One day, while we were out eating, Chloe asked, "Did you see what's trending on Twitter today?" "What is it?" I asked. She showed me her phone. The top hashtag was hashtag Leo Hayes' over party. Apparently, someone had leaked a ton of dirt from Leo's life before he became famous. He'd presented himself as a simple mechanic, but in reality, he'd been sleeping with a string of wealthy older women, living as their kept man. There were bank statements and even explicit photos to prove it. I had to admit, with his pretty boy looks, he was exactly the type those women would go for. Still, he was a scumbag who deserved everything he got. I heard he's been completely blacklisted, Chloe said, and that the husbands of those women beat him half to death. Chloe trailed off, watching my face. He's in a hospital now and can't even pay his bills. Diana hasn't gone to see him, She's cut all ties. When I didn't react, Chloe teased. Your ex-wife must be heartbroken. Now's your chance to swoop in and win her back. I roll my eyes at her. What's wrong with you? Chloe just smiled. I'm about to launch a new subsidiary. Want to come work for me? I remembered from the book that Chloe was destined to become a titan of industry with a massive fortune. If I hitched my wagon to her star, I was sure to get a piece of the action. How about this? I proposed. I'll invest $1 million for a stake in the company. Deal, she said. And just like that, I invested $1 million in Chloe's new venture, and she put me in charge of managing it. Chloe really did have a brilliant mind for business. The company was profitable almost immediately, and soon the money was rolling in so fast I could barely count it. After we closed a huge deal, the company threw a celebratory gala, which was live-streamed for the public. The MC invited Chloe and me up on stage. The company is thriving, and the future looks even brighter. So, when can we expect a wedding announcement from our two CEOs? That's right, Chloe and I were together. The thrill of a new crush is nothing compared to the comfort of a long-term bond. We finally crossed that line one night after a few too many drinks. She stumbled and fell against me, her lips brushing mine, and I seized the moment and kissed her properly. It was only after we got together that I learned Chloe had been secretly in love with me for years. She wasn't the spoiled brat she appeared to be on the surface. She was incredibly kind and considerate, and surprisingly affectionate. Honey, kiss me. Honey, give me a hug. What man could possibly resist that? I took Chloe's hand, lacing my fingers through hers. We've already gotten our marriage license, I announced, and we're planning the wedding for next year. The entire room erupted in applause. Now, I had money, I had a wife. I was a true winner. At that very moment, Diana was at home, watching me on the screen, tears of regret streaming down her face. No matter how rich or powerful she became, she was destined to be alone for the rest of her life, having forever lost the one who loved her.